or we don't want to, highlight the fact that we might be deficient in an area. It's hard to do. It's hard to accept blame. And you guys, this has been happening since Adam and Eve. Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the serpent. So this isn't anything new, but it's something that that happens in marriage, and we have to address it. We have to make sure that when we find ourselves looking to point the blame, that we have to first assess, okay, what is it that I'm doing to play a part in this? Because clearly you're doing something. Whenever there's an issue, there's two parties involved at least. So there's your part, what you did, what your involvement was, and there was your spouse or whoever else. So make sure that you're accurately assigning blame, but you're not doing it in a way that's like, pointing your finger and being aggressive and angry and all this kind of stuff. Do it in a way that makes, that gets your point across, but that is, in a loving way. So, again, when we don't want to accept responsibility, we point the finger and we blame. Most of the times we blame our spouse. We were late because you didn't want to wake up. We forgot to buy my sister a baby shower gift because we didn't bring a gift because you forgot to go to the bank. We like to assign blame when things happen, but forgetting that we also play a role in that. I could have very easily gotten up an hour earlier to make sure we were all where we needed to be on time. I could have very easily taken myself to the ATM and to Babies R Us and gotten a baby shower gift for my sister, So we need to make sure that we're taking responsibility when it makes sense. The other thing is anger. The fifth thing is anger. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but it's easy to point our anger at a person, but we should be pointing our anger at the act, at the sin, at whatever it was that the person did, and not the person directly. And that is super hard, you guys. It's super hard to do that, but it's something that we have to do as Christians, as people, as believers, as people who say that we are trying to walk the Christian walk. When we're angry, we need to point our blame to the act, to the behavior, and not the person themselves. And something that is really key about this, I was thinking about this, and something that's really key about this is we all know that the enemy will try to get his foot in any way he can, right? And anger is one of the easiest ways that the enemy slips into our relationships, slips into our hearts, and allows us to start feeling a divide between ourselves and our husbands. So it's super important that when we're angry, we are addressing our anger to an issue, to an action, to a behavior, and not assigning it to a person, not assigning it to our spouse. Because like I said, that is the easiest way for the enemy to come in and start to plant seeds of divide in our marriage. When you're angry, who knows what's going to happen. So we want to make sure, again, that you're not pointing that anger towards your husband. You may be mad as, I don't know what, that, he did something, but be mad at what he did, not at him. And it's hard, you guys. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. Marriage isn't easy. Whoever told you marriage was easy, they lied. They lied to you. Marriage is not easy. But to my point, make sure that you are assigning your anger to an action, a behavior, not your husband, not your spouse. The enemy will come in, plant those seeds of divide, and before you know it, you'll be in divorce court. I tell you the truth. I tell you the truth, guys. So make sure when you're angry, again, you need to, like I said, these are communication killers. Anger is a communication killer. It's a marriage killer, you guys. So make sure that you're communicating in a way that's not, whoa, Johnny's over here playing director. Make sure that you're communicating in a way that's not harming your husband's heart. Yeah, your spouse is not the enemy. Your spouse is not the enemy, you guys. It's the actions. It's the, little things that creep into him. The way, how the enemy works, you guys. So point that anger at the action. Work with your husband to figure it out. And it might be things that you're doing. He might, again, be pointing that blame at you. He might be saying, you're the reason why I did this. You're the reason why I did that. You're the reason why I went and called her. Right? So make sure that we are being angry with the issue. And, because like I said, it gives the opportunity for the enemy to come in. And I read that opportunity is actually a military term that is used to what is it? Guys, I'm forgetting now. That's what I get for trying to read something, right? But it's a military term to mean it's when an army goes in and sets up an operation somewhere, right? So the same is true for how the enemy works. It moves in, the enemy moves in, and it tries to set up operation in your heart, in your spirit. So we need to make sure we're not giving the enemy opportunity to come in our hearts and set up operation. There we go. Makes sense. I pulled that one out, right? Oh my gosh, you guys. I didn't have my coffee. That's my excuse. I didn't have my coffee today. All right. So those are, I think there were 5 of them. Those are 5 ways that, 5 communication killers in marriage that are very common, and things that we need to have our eyes and ears open for. I'll cover them again really quickly. They were talking too much and not allowing our spouse an opportunity to respond, not allowing our spouse a chance to get their 2 cents in. Because when we talk, we can't hear anything. We're not learning anything when we're doing all the talking. The other thing was not saying enough. When we don't say, yes, it's me without coffee. I'm on a 10. Yes, I am. But when you are not, so if you're the person in the relationship that does not communicate enough, that's not, thank you, LaShonda, not saying enough, it leaves a lot of question for your spouse. Your spouse is wondering what's going on in your head. It leaves room for them to start creating their own ideas of what you might be thinking, and it leads to a lack of trust. So make sure that you are saying something, even if you're not the best communicator, you don't like getting all in your feelings and all that. Make sure that you are saying something so that your spouse knows you're listening, your spouse knows that you care, the spouse knows that you have feelings towards whatever the situation is. Make sure that you're saying something, because not saying enough is a trap. It leaves the door open, you guys. The other thing was exaggeration. Don't exaggerate. Keep it real. Just, because again, that plays into the whole trust factor. It makes sure your spouse wonder what else that you're not being fully accurate about. So make sure you're not exaggerating situations. Be honest and clear about what's going on. True, usually it's the husband who is not the communicator. It's the opposite in my marriage. That's cool. That's great. But it's something that your spouse needs to work on. She needs to work on making sure that she's communicating with you. And you need to allow her. If you're the one that's talking too much, Ambassador Moore, you need to hush and let her get her 2 cents in. Blame. The other thing was blame. When we don't want to accept responsibility, you guys, what do? We point the finger and we blame. We point the finger and we blame. And like I said, this started back in Adam and Eve. Adam blamed Eve, Eve blamed the serpent, and, the rest is history. We all do it, but we need to be aware that we're doing it and when we're doing it so that we can stop and say, okay, wait a second, I play a part in this too. And we take responsibility for our actions and the things that we say. So blame. And then the last thing was anger. Just making sure that we are, when we are angry, we will all be angry at some point in our marriage. When we're angry, we are angry with the action and not angry with the person. Anger is a tool that the enemy uses, an opportunity for the enemy to creep into our hearts and set up operation. So make sure that as you're communicating, make sure that you're straying away from these communication killers as much as possible. And now hopefully that we've kind of talked about them, you'll be able to identify them when you're, having those moments. A good saying is keep it on the I, meaning work on you, not changing it. Yeah. Be angry with the action. Thanks, LaShonda. Yeah, those I statements that you learn in 1st and 2nd grade, I'm upset when you did this. I was upset or I was mad. I got mad when you, how it goes, guys. Donnie's over here looking at me, wondering why I'm talking to a box. Talking to a rectangle. But that's it, you guys. Those 5 things are communication killers for real in marriage. And so you just want to make sure that you're doing your best to identify them and navigate around them when they come up, because they most certainly will. All right, so thanks for joining today. And like I said yesterday, I have a little something that I'm putting together that hopefully will help some of you, or will be something to prepare you for marriage. It's going to be like a little PDF printout thing that you can read with just some tips about some of the things that I've covered. So like the roommate trap, the Bruce Jenner syndrome, all those things, the 5 A's that we talked about. So I'm going to put something together and I'll let you know when it's available. Okay? Thanks for joining, you guys. I'm going to go get some coffee. Thank you. They were thrifted. These were thrifted earrings. They were like 25 cents or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get some coffee and I'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? Ciao. Adios.